Hi. As usual, I'm going to start by reading my mission statement. And as you can see, I'm doing a little something different tonight. Why not? When life is difficult, many people feel alone, believing nobody can truly understand their struggles. But in truth, although the story is different for each of us, we all live with and through the same emotional experiences: pain, joy, passion. These feelings are what I consider to be the common bond between human beings. It is my sincere desire that a person reading this book realizes that someone else has felt what they have and that they are not alone. Tonight's topic is about speaking up. Over the weekend, watched a program called I Was a Teenage Bride. No, it wasn't. I Was a Child Bride. And this story was about women who were forced to marry. In many cases, most of these stories were about women who were forced to marry the men who sexually abused them as children. One of the most prominent stories was of a woman who lived in Florida. She was 9 years old, and an 18-year-old deacon of her mother's church was molesting her. The church, they lived in the church. So when you would go down the church's back steps and you would be into their kitchen, and he would go into her bedroom and molest her. And she told her mother about it. She actually did. And the mother told her she was lying and that she was making her look bad. So she was 9 years old, and she had a baby by him when she was 10. And then the mother forced her to get married to him when she was 11. And in that marriage, she ended up having 6 children. And then eventually she was finally able to get away from him. Another story was about a 16-year-old girl. I think she might have been 15 when she and her mother couldn't jive. They couldn't get along for whatever reason. So she pushed the mother when the mother did something to her, and the mother had her put into a mental institution. While she was at the mental institution, she was approached by a 30-year-old worker there who ended up getting her pregnant. The mother made her marry him. She didn't sign the wedding, the marriage license, or anything. Another story was of a woman who her father married a woman who didn't want children. They lived in California, and she was 12. The stepmother and the father moved to Texas. The stepmother had a friend, and I think he was in his 30s, who he suggested stay in California and be the caretaker of this 12-year-old girl. Needless to say, he started molesting her, and she eventually ended up pregnant by him at 15. And I believe she was married by 15. She had the baby around 13 or 14, and she had 2 children by him. She tried to leave him. She went to a battered woman shelter, and she was told that she could not stay there because she wasn't 18. So she ended up having to go back to him. And then there was a woman that the family, they adopted or had a foster brother in the home, and the foster brother was molesting the girl. Now they were basically close to the same age, but it was still unwanted touches, and of course they were supposed to be brother and sister. He took advantage of the fact that he knew that they weren't, but the family was so religious, um, that the mother would blame the daughter, saying that it was, because she wore T-shirts to bed, that's why he was doing it, and just all kinds of ridiculousness. And then she was forced to marry him. The mother told her that if she married him, that she would pay for her to go to college, which they had not planned to do from the beginning. But because this girl was fighting this situation, the mother kept saying it was ordained by God, just, all of that stuff. So when they got ready to get married, it was discovered the girl was pregnant. So the mother told her that it was a sign from God that she's just supposed to be a mother. And of course, the girl didn't get a chance to go to college. As I was watching this, I mean, it was really disheartening to learn that most all of the states in this country allow women children to be married to adult men, and a lot of people use that to keep from prosecuting the person who has molested their child. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Here in Kentucky, a girl could get married, as young as 11 or 12 years old, just up until maybe like uh, I forgot how many years. I meant to look that up before I got on here, but I knew that it was at least 12 that she could get married. And when the woman that was 16, she was from Kentucky, she went to Congress to talk to them and to hear some of the reasons why the men in Congress felt that it shouldn't be an age limitation on marriage. One of the men, and he was an elderly guy, he looked like he was in his 70s, and his reason is that his father was 30 and his mother was 16, and they had 5 children and they were happily married for 50 years. Okay. That was a total statutory rape situation. And just because he feels like that it turned out okay, he does not know what his mother endured. He has no idea. And I'm sure she probably didn't tell them. And this whole idea of that a female can be just treated any kind of way and married off to cover up wrongdoings because the parent doesn't want to have to go through the court system, or because religion tells them they should forgive, or in a lot of situations, religion has been a big issue as to why they jump to marriage. So as I was listening to this, I thought to myself, I was molested, but I didn't tell anybody until I was um, pretty much an adult. I told some people, but I had wrote my book. I wrote an autobiography, and I purged all that stuff into the book. But the difference in my situation was, for me, I didn't get pregnant, and there was no penetration, because when I turned 12, he had been molesting me since I was about 6, and I'm talking about, this man was in his 50s at that time. But when I turned 12 and my body had developed and stuff, he pulled me, to a secluded area, and he was rubbing his penis, and I had never seen a penis before. And he said, uh, I said, what you doing? What you gonna do with that? And then he pointed to my vagina, and I looked at him and I was like, that's too big. The hell? You can't put that in me. And at that moment, talking about the universe saving somebody, my reaction was enough to make him run to the bathroom and vomit. He realized that I had no idea. He was a little off, but he still knew that I was a child. But I guess it's something clicked with him that he's like, this girl has no idea, you know, what I've been grooming her for all these years. And he never touched me again. He never even looked at me. He never even talked to me again. And of course, I just left it alone. But what? I didn't feel the shame or the guilt that some people feel, because in my little mind, I was so grown to, I'm thinking this is my boyfriend. He give me candy and we play games and I had totally like made it into something that it wasn't. But then when I was molested by several females, then that was something totally different. I still didn't feel the I didn't feel guilty or shame, but I felt like I started to feel like, why me? What is it about me that these people are choosing, that men and women are choosing me? What is it? And I didn't really question it really deep when I was a teenager. And when I was under under 13. Um and most of it happened during that time. By the time I was 13, 14, I think that what made it stop is how willing I was to speak up. If somebody tried to touch me and that I didn't want to touch me, I would say something. One of the first times that I did that was I grew up, I'm from Goose Hill in East St. Louis, Illinois. I was born there. And we lived on the Goose Hill until I was 4. And then my parents opened a store between the ages of 11 and 15. We had a store there. And one of the neighborhood toughs, one of the big thugs, everybody was scared of him. I had a routine where I was the one who had to lock the pool hall up, and it was on the side. It was on 3rd Street. And so I was the one, because I would be in there dancing, listening to the music or whatever. And then we closed, I think it was 11 o'clock. So one night I was locking up the doors and I did what I normally would do, because at night, if the boys weren't hanging out on the corner and stuff, it was really quiet on Goose Hill. So I would come out and look, and look at the stars, see what's going on. It was a summer night, and this one particular night, this guy was standing there. And he grabbed me and he said, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to take it. And I said to him, you going to have to take it, because I ain't giving it to you. And his eyes got big as these earrings. He just knew I was scared of him. Because then that's when I started to figure out, because I was real sensitive and it didn't take nothing to make me cry, or to get upset. And then he had seen that side of me, people picking on me, when I calling me fat or whatever, I would get upset and cry about it and maybe run to the back or whatever. And I think that he was banking on me doing that. But there was something in me that said, no, you don't get to take nothing from me. And if you do, you're going to have to kill me. And I literally told him that. This is where I'm going to die. And he, grabbed me to him, and my expression didn't change. And when he let me go, I locked the door and I went immediately to my father. And I told him what he did. Said everything, what had happened. And my daddy stood up for me. He went and got his gun and he went and confronted him. And he had told me to go back in the store, and I act like I was going, but I went and stood behind him. And my daddy, he was a cursor for real, and he was motherfucking this and no. But the final thing he told him, he said, "You don't never look at her. If she come out, you need to walk across the other side of the street. You can't never come in my store again." I mean, he just totally laid it down. And so the guy said to him, "What you gonna do, pop bottle kid?" So then I found out later my father had a reputation. They called him Pop Bottle Kid because a man had pulled a gun on him, but instead of him pulling his gun, he took a pop bottle and beat the man up with it. Well, obviously the man did. He had the gun. He didn't want to do nothing because he had the bigger weapon, but he ended up getting beat up with a pop bottle. So what you gonna do, pop bottle again? And then that's when my daddy pulled his gun out. And then that's when old boy understood, you got the wrong one. I had another situation where it was a man, his name was Mr. Jones. I don't mind. He lived next door to Buck's store. And he was in his 60s then. And I was in the store and I had on some shorts and I had my legs up on the counter. We used to do that, rock back in the chair. And so he came in, and before I could get my legs down, he was like, "Ooh, look at them big old pretty legs." And I was, so startled. I'm trying to get my legs down. And then he reached out to grab me. And when he reached out to try to touch me, I reached over and got the big butcher knife that we kept up under the counter. And I'm standing there with that knife, and I'm like, "Mr. Jones, I'll kill you. You better not touch me." And he started laughing too. He thought, she weak, she ain't gonna I said, and I kept saying, "Mr. Jones, I'm gonna kill you if you try to touch me." "Oh, you big old finest. You just all you need is this, that," just talking to me all vulgar and stuff. I said, "Mr. Jones, you better get out of here." So he finally realized that I wasn't playing with him and he left. And at that moment, when he walked out that door, I made a promise to myself that I would never teach my children to just respect somebody just because they're an adult. You got to show respect first, because he was banking on me being respectful. And I was standing there, fighting, trying to fight for my life, calling somebody Mr. Jones when he was really a motherfucker. That's what I should have been calling him. Another time, it was a man that used to walk around with a grocery cart, picking up stuff, and he had real wavy hair, and he was older. He was alcoholic, drug. I don't know if he was on drugs, but he definitely was alcoholic. So he come in one day, "Oh, you big fine, and I want to lick you, and I want to do." I mean, he was really vulgar, and we could run away together, and oh no. But what I didn't know and what he didn't know was my dad was in the office, and the office had a one-way mirror like the police, like they have in the police stations. So you could see out, but you couldn't see somebody looking at you. So uh, my father, he listened to the whole thing. But I cussed him out. I mean, I didn't have enough experience now. We wasn't gonna be no Mr. Whatever. I can't even remember his name. I cussed him out. So then finally, it seemed like it went on forever though. But my father come rushing out that room, and the man was slight. He was, maybe being 110 pounds. And my father picked him up so high that he almost hit his head on the ceiling fan. And if any of y'all know how that store was, that was pretty high. I mean, he was, "I'll kill you," and I, he just on and on. And he was like, uh, I'm took so long because I was shocked that you knew how to cuss like that. I thought you was gonna kill him. But part of me was like, why that was torture for me. Why you didn't come out sooner? Shoot. Don't be shocked you as much as you cuss. How am I not gonna cuss? Anyway, so I had that experience. Then one day I'm uh sweeping the floor in the store. Cat's Variety was the name of the store. My mom is Cat. Sweeping the floor, and this man who had just got out of prison, I had never seen him before in my life, but when he went in, I was a little girl. But by the time I was 12, I was, already in a B going on to a C cup, and I was just right at where I wish I was now. People tried to make me think I was fat. I was fine as hell, and the men definitely let me know it. So he comes in, and he grabbed me and he kissed me and he put his tongue all the way in my mouth. And I pushed him off, and then he looked at me like, "Oh, don't say nothing, no." And I'm like, what is wrong with men? What is going on? So I just, I let that go. I didn't say nothing, but I pushed him hard enough for him to know that he wasn't nothing going on here. So he My computer trying to go out on me, y'all. They too smart. They send you a message and everything. And they just stop it. Oh Lord. So he went on about his business. One day, and this is the first time I ever heard Natalie Cole's "This Will Be," and I had on my little girl schoolgirl outfit. You know, my mother really liked to dress us and stuff, and it was like a little short dress and had a belt with a buckle on it, and it was it looked like it was a skirt and a top, but it was a whole dress. And I'm just dancing around with the broom, and I mean I love that song. I was getting into it. And then Gopher Lad walked through the door and he looked at me and said, "You was gonna be fine, but now you getting fat." And to my 12-year-old mind, I said, that's how I can keep men from not wanting me. I'm gonna get fat. And the next day, the potato chip people came to stock our things. It was like Lance and Old Vienna and all the different people. And I ate a bag of everything there, and that started my addiction to chips, which I still got to this day. But also my journey of gaining weight, thinking that I'm protecting myself, which was not the case by no means. So I learned a lot about myself in those instances. And when I stood up for myself, I normally was alone, but within my family, when my brothers and sisters picked on me, I didn't choose to beef up to them. Because I didn't believe that we should be fighting each other. We brothers and sisters, we live in the same house. But my mom didn't never mind a good fight, even if it was her own kids. But anyway, so they saw me, cry and cower, or what they considered to be coward, but I basically was turning the other cheek. But at that time, their opinion of me weighed more than what I really knew about myself, is which I wasn't taking no shit. So the store closed when we were when I was around 15. Yeah. And then I met my oldest daughter's father. And the way that I felt when I looked at him, you know, I had never ever experienced that before, and all the little different, molestations and stuff. I just disassociated, from my body, why whatever was going on. I wasn't even there. But when I saw him, it was just like, you the one, you gonna get it, baby. And what I tell this story because it's the truth. That day that I met him, my sister Ann came home and said, if somebody come by here for me, I don't want to see them. I had never seen him before. And he must have told her that he was coming by because he liked her, or he thought he liked her. But when he knocked on the door and I looked out the window, he was the most beautiful man I had ever seen in my life, boy, whatever he was. And I opened up that door and he said, "Is Ann here?" And I told him straight up, I said, "You don't want her. You want me." And it was on from there on, okay? So there was no coercion of anything. It was me. But even still with that, he could not uh, he could not keep himself from being sucked into my gift for gab and me telling him how beautiful he was, and all that kind of stuff. And then he was, he was a bodybuilder and he did karate and all of that. He was weird as hell, but I didn't care. Yeah. So even though I've had all these feelings, I still didn't know what sex was, what it really was. Intercourse, I had no idea. So he would say, When we gonna do it? I'm like, do what? What the hell you keep talking about? Do what? What? I and that went on for months and months. That went on for a long time because he wasn't forceful in any kind of way or whatever. And I don't even remember how he got me to understand what it was, but baby, when we got it, it was on. So I got pregnant when I was 17. Now, here comes the part that for me, I associated with that show that I talked about before then. Because I got pregnant when my mother found out, when I told my mother, I told her that I got pregnant. I went to her and I told her. And she called him over and she went through her little spiel or whatever. And then she looked at me and she said, "You're going to marry him." And I said, "No, I'm not." Now, mind you, I didn't have the kind of mama that you could talk back to or that you could stand up to. That meant all up until that point, I was, it was going to be a slap in the mouth, a hit with a comb, or she'd run up on you and grab you and pinch you. I mean, whatever she was going to do. But she saw that I meant that. No, you're not going to force me to marry him just because I'm 17. I'm 1 year from 18. I have my own mind. I know what I want to do and who I want to be, and it's not a wife. And I didn't want to be a mother. I just wanted to have sex. Had you taught me about sexual intercourse, I would have been the one that would have never got pregnant. To this day, I wouldn't have no kids had I known about birth control and how to protect myself. But I wasn't taught that. When my father discovered I was having sex, he bought me a case of condoms, but with no instructions. He didn't tell me, yeah, you get this to him, but you have to pay attention if he taking it off because he put it on right in my face. But I didn't know about the slippery slide that he could, go down there. I'm thinking that he just had some extra pleasure, but he taking the condom out. I didn't have no education. But I had enough self-awareness and enough self uh, confidence in myself that I would be able to take care of my child, even though I was still in high school. It wasn't no doubt in my mind that I was not going to be able to raise my child and that I was going to graduate from high school. I was going to do everything that I need to do, but I wasn't going to marry him. And when I said I wasn't going to marry him, they both, he bucked, because he already knew the situation. He knew how my mom was. But she honored it. She didn't argue with me or nothing because she saw I was standing in my truth. And she saw that I meant what I said. So then the next thing that she did was she told me that I would have to go and stand up in front of Southern Mission Church and apologize to them for getting pregnant. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to do that. If I owe anybody an apology, it's for having sex in your house. So I owe you and my daddy an apology. But I wish I would. And I didn't say it like that. But the confidence was saying that when I said no, I'm not going to do that. And she, I could tell she was more upset about that than she was me saying I get married because, she's a preacher now, and all of that. And she was working towards that at that time. But she didn't try to force me to do it. As a matter of fact, getting pregnant was my get out of church card. I didn't have to go to church no more. Okay. Hey, the universe was working for me. So then the next thing that happened was I wanted her to keep my daughter, the baby. And she told me no, and she went and got her a part-time job. So I said, well, I'm going to let Brett keep the baby. He should be working and he should be doing this and he should be doing that. I got to finish high school. I got to get my high school diploma. I don't care what he should be doing. What he is going to do is take care of this child until I graduate so I can do my homework and pass my tests and do what I need to do so I can move forward with my life. Boy, she was really hot about that. She was really, really hot. So when I watched that program over the weekend, my chest swelled up with such a sense of pride, and it's not saying nothing, bad about nobody else. But I realized that I've always spoke up when it came to something that was going to affect my life in a way that I didn't think would be beneficial to me in the long run. And I'm not going to necessarily say that I had a whole lot of plans for the future in the sense of, I want to go to college. I want because once I got pregnant, I decided I wasn't going to college at least for a year. And that was another thing. That I'm just thinking about that. It was another thing. So my mom said, so, you know, what college you gonna go to? And I said, I'm not going to college. And boy, she was really, well, I got money for you to go. You can keep your money. My child needs me. I'm going to be a mother to my child. And then that's when I did make a plan that I would stay on public aid until she was old enough to go to daycare. And then that's when I would start seeking employment or go to school, or whatever. So I graduated in 80. I did end up going to uh, BAC in 81 because my aunt started a daycare and I trusted her. So I went on to let her go to her daycare. I didn't have a problem with leaving her with her. But I told my mother, no, you can keep your money, do whatever you're going to do, but I'm going to be a mother to my child. At 17, 18 years old, I understood the importance of those early years. And I don't, I can't necessarily say I read any books or anything at that time. It was just something that I knew that needed to be done, that I wanted my child to know that I was the mother. She's always called my mom grandmother. That's what she calls her. I'm your mother. That program showed me that I'm the woman that I am today because I always stood up for myself and spoke for myself and didn't let somebody else make the important choices in my life. I didn't let people take from me. And no matter how, you'll talk to my siblings and they'll tell you that Wanda cried a lot and, she didn't speak up or she didn't, do, whatever. And I didn't. I was a child, in that way. But when it was time for me to protect myself, even as a child, there was something inside of me, and that's the me that nobody knows, that would speak up. You got to speak up. It's adult women here today, that won't speak up for themselves for whatever reason. And you can start from wherever you are. You have to believe that you're worthy. But I think it comes from a lack of authenticity, trying to please other people. I'm not a people pleaser, and I never have been. It wasn't important to me to make my mother happy or to make her look good or to not embarrass her. Not if it was going to cause me any distress, because I got to live with me. She living her life. She doing what she doing. And she doing what she want to do. And that's cool. But what about Wanda? What about the choices that I need to make for me to have the type of life that I want, whatever that may be? Whatever it is. And then once I did start making plans for my own life, I've achieved everything that I wanted to. Because I believed that I could. And once I developed that true confidence in me, it wasn't none stopping me. My marriage, it wasn't the best marriage, but I wasn't a battered wife. I was a woman who had been battered. And it's a big difference, you know? It's a big, big difference because I said what I had to say and I did what I had to do to maintain my dignity and my authenticity. And as what he would say, my personal integrity. On our 22nd wedding anniversary, I asked him, "What is most are you most surprised about me?" And he said, "Your personal integrity. You stick to what you believe." Because he tried hard as hell to try to change me and persuade me and to get me to do the stuff that he wanted me to do and all of that. And at some point he finally realized, you know, well, he would come to me. He still was gonna ask anyway, because he believed in, all you could say is no. So he still was gonna ask. But at a certain point, he stopped trying to finesse me, and just will come straight to the point. I know you ain't gonna want to do this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Go ahead, ask me. No, I knew it. I just had to ask. And the other thing he said is you never give up. And I said to him, why would I give up? If I wake up with a breath in me and it's something that I want to do, something I want to be, I'm not giving up. I ain't no quitter. I ain't gonna even quit on us. But that's when he said to me, after he said, you're not a quitter, he says, I'm a low life, Wanda. And there was a part of me, that when he never said those words, but he would shrink into that mentality. And I would be, baby, you the best, you could do it. All you got to do is try, put it forth for effort. Let's make a plan. I would go into all of that. But when he said, I'm a low life Wanda, there was a part of me, I caught my breath and I just let it go. Because what Maya Angelou say, when the person tell you who they are, believe them. But what I was doing was that I was basically girding him with my belief about myself, how I get up every day and soldier on. Everybody ain't like you, Wanda. And he put up a good fight, considering where he came from, what he didn't know, what he should have knew. He put up a good fight, but he got to the point where he couldn't fake it no more. And he just let me know, I gotta go. And he moved out. He left. Because he got tired of trying to act a part that he didn't fit in. And my unconditional love only served to shame him, because he came to hate me because I loved him. Because I refused to accept what he knew to be true, that he wasn't shit. But what he didn't know is you might not be shit, but you might not shit. And it's some of you that's listening to this and be like, what is she talking? What difference do it make? Everybody deserves to have somebody in their corner. And I chose to be in his corner. But when he couldn't stand to go back in the ring, and I respected him even more, he turned his back on the fight. He threw the towel in. He didn't wait for the corner man to throw it in. He threw it in. When you speak your truth, it sets you free. It may not set you in the point to necessarily where you want to be right away, but at least you spoke your truth. what is true to you, and you stop lying to yourself or denying yourself your humanity, your ability to protect yourself and take care of yourself. And watching that show showed me that from a young girl, I stood up for me. I fought for my right not to be raped. Oh, I have another story. Al on Seward, when I lived in on the third floor on Seward, Al had a bad back. The porches in the building that I lived in, the back porch was enclosed, and the steps go down, and you can see it was a real big window right there. But the back doors were right across from each other. So I happened to be coming up the steps, and Al was coming out, the lady who lived across from me. So I'm at my door, getting ready to go into my door. Al whips me around. And I guess this is the rapist's motto, because he said the same thing to me that the guy said to me when I was 12, 13 years old. If you don't give it to me, I'm going to take it. Now, the young guy, now he was strong enough and virile enough and all that to do it. But Al had on a back brace that day. He could barely stand up. So I just started laughing. I said, Al, this is what's going to happen. If you don't let me go, I'm going to flip your ass over this railing. And you ain't even strong enough to take me with you. He turned his little Jerry Carroll juice head around and walked down the stairs with his tail between his legs. I didn't even tell my husband. I was married. I didn't even tell my husband because I didn't want him to kill the man. That's another time. There wasn't nobody there. Wasn't nobody in the building. I just happened to come home. Wasn't nobody. It was 3 flights up. Wasn't nobody in the building but me and him. But if I was weak and I didn't believe that I deserve not to have what's mine taken from me because you think you the man, and you think that I'm supposed to be afraid of you. I was in my 30s. No, you ain't taking nothing from me. I'm not different from many women. I have another story. Fitzroy in Evanston, he was a cab driver. I went to the Jamaican party, I danced, whatever. And so I would call me a cab to get home. And I probably rode in his cab. And he saw me getting ready to call me a cab. Oh, I take you. So I get ready to get in the back seat. No, sit up here with me. And that I was like, no, I get in the back. No, come on, sit up here with me. So I went on and sat in the front seat with him. We get out in front of the house. He immediately pounced on me. And I'm like, pushing out, and he was being forceful, but I was too. And I got my way out of that car and ran up the stairs. Do you know this sucker ran up behind me? And I'm beating on my cousins' them door, and they opened the door and they knew him. So I said, he trying to rape me. They let him in. I ran in the bathroom, locked the bathroom door. He beating on the bathroom door. So I'm hollering out, I suggest I'm going to kill you if I come out. You're going to die tonight. So he was just, I don't know if he was so drunk or whatever, but they was in there rambling around with him or whatever. And then they finally told me I could come out because he was gone. I stood up for myself. I spoke up. Because it's a coward that would try to take something from a woman anyway. And a lot of times you feel this fear, and the last thing they want to do is be exposed. So what I want to say to you, if you're in a situation now where somebody's bullying you, somebody's taking from you something that you don't want them to take, I don't care what it is, but especially if it's your body, fight. Choose death over a life of being mistreated and abused if you have to. Because if you choose to allow somebody to abuse you, it's going to be prolonged. And it's only, you're going to wish you dead by the time it does stop, if it ever stops. We all come here with ourselves. What Frankie Beverly and May say? I got myself to remind me of love. And this is what we have to understand. Nobody has to protect you. And sometimes there won't be anybody there to protect you. But you will feel much better in the end, no matter what the outcome is if you at least put forth that effort to protect yourself. I was watching a serial killer show about a serial killer the other night, Ridgeway, the Green River Killer, and he had picked, I don't know if she was a prostitute or whatever, but he picked this woman, and he said he had to kill her because he felt like she was gonna kill him, because that's just how much she was fighting for her life. She lost in the end, but wherever she at, I know she's saying to herself, I fought. I tried. I put forth that effort. Watching that show, although I had empathy for them, I could not help but think about how many times that I was in the same position that they were in. And I made the choice to say, no, this is not going to happen to me. Had my mother said that she was going to put me out, I'd have been put out. It's just that simple. My father, he had a feeling that I was ready to move out. So he brought me down to the kitchen table. That's where he sat playing his solitaire for hours and hours and hours. And smoking his Pall Malls, unfiltered, putting them out in the plates. You'd have to take you 20 minutes to wash them. But anyway. And he wasn't looking at me. He said, Wanda, I don't believe in people living together and not being married. And I'm just like, okay, where is this going? So I didn't say nothing. So he says, so would you do that? Do you think that you would do that? And I told him, I don't know what I might do. I haven't been presented with that situation. Little did he know, he put that in my head because I wasn't even thinking about that. And that was thank you for that. See you. And I moved out in March when I was 18, before I graduated in 1980. I moved in with my daughter's father. And boy, my mother could not. That just threw her over too. So one day she called me and she says, I want you to come over here and have cornbread cooked by the time I get home from church. I'm not doing that. I'm not leaving 29th Street and walking to 23rd Street to cook you some cornbread. I'm not doing that. But it was her last attempt to see if she had any control over me. And I understood then she never really did. I just did what she told out of respect. Out of that pseudo respect, I should say, that you have for a parent. Because you taking care of me, I'm living in your house, all of that. But I'm gone now. I'm running this over here 100%. And I'm not going to do that. Whatever hold you have on you that's not a hold that you want on you, it's up to you to speak up. Get up, stand up, you know, for your rights. You have the right as a human being, as an individual, to live your life the way you see fit. Now, I'm not, my show is not for children, and I have it on here that it's not for children. So I'm not telling the child to run away from home or to not listen to their parents, because that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is understanding who you are, knowing that it's important to know who you are and to know your limitations, to know how much that you can withstand. And if you are a child or if you are a teenager and you are in an abusive situation, have to know that there are places that you can get help if that is the case. But you don't just allow anybody to touch you. And if the people in your home don't believe that it's happening to you, you can report to the school, you can go to the police station, you can go to any place where you see that yellow thing that says safe place. There are people that will listen to you and that will believe you and that will investigate the situation. That's why those things are in place. If you 10 years old and 18-year-old touching you, and you know that that's not right. And if you go to your parent and your parent tell you that it's your fault and you don't even know what's going on, like that woman in the things that she had no idea what was happening to her. Her mother telling her she being fast, and this man is following her when she leave church. He following her down to her house. How is she being fast? Oh, you making me look bad. Oh, well, God said this and God said that. And, listen, I'm not telling nobody not to follow their religion or whatever, but right from wrong when you feel like something is wrong. Even if you're a child, if it don't feel right, it ain't right. Trust your gut. Just because mama say, or you just should be nicer than him, or, whatever, however they come up with to try to clean it up, or hush, don't tell nobody. Or, yeah, you lying, you just made that up. I worked for 10 years at a residential home, and my dorm was the sexually reactive dorm. And when I tell you, I could tell you some stories that you would not believe. And that was when I got that job. That was nothing but the universe. I was making $9 an hour. Had 2 kids to take care of and a house and all of that. But I knew I was meant to be there. And I saw hundreds of girls come through that dorm while I was there for that 10 years. And they would talk to me, and a lot of them would say, this is the first time I ever felt like I really had some therapy. And guess what? Most of the time I wasn't saying nothing. It was the first time somebody listened to them and validated them and didn't judge them and then tell them that it was all in their mind and then tell them that they should have did this or they should have did that. That's what it was. They had a safe place with me. They had somebody who could relate. And I didn't have to share my story. Sharing myself, being there for them. Some of them would come in and they would have this hate for their mothers. So I would say to them, how old was your mother when she got pregnant with you? Well, she was 14. Well, how old are you? Well, I'm 14, I'll be 15. Are you ready for a baby now? And their eyes would get wide. Because other people would feed into that hate towards the mother. Whereas I would try to draw empathy out of them to let them see, you need to know your mama's story before you hate on her. Because the same thing could be happening to you. Part of the reason why she put you in here is to keep you from having to live her story. Because obviously she still is traumatized from having to live her story. And she needed some help. And, she put you in this 9-month facility, and I know that you feel like she's wrong or whatever, but she very well may have saved you from having to have a child feel about you the way you feel about her. Nobody's ever said that before. Because most people don't listen. And if they are listening, they're listening to respond. But what I say to you, whether they listening or hearing you, you speak up. Speak your mind. Draw your boundaries. Have things that you won't do, no matter what. Don't be so easily persuaded. The dick is good, but guess what? The next dick can be good too. You ain't got to rob a bank to prove to him how good it is. Because he, buy you a purse. You're not obligated to allow yourself to be mistreated and abused. And if somebody try to grab you on the street, start screaming immediately. That's what I taught my kids. They don't want no attention. Somebody pull up and pull a gun on you and say, get in the car. Don't get in the car, run. It's hard to shoot a moving target. Make him have to get out and chase you. Somebody gonna see it. Don't just give in. Don't let fear keep you from protecting you. Whatever the situation may be, you got to fight for your right to have a life. And you got to believe enough in yourself to know that if you fight and if you speak your truth and if you stand in your truth, you're going to win. Watching that program, I've been proud of myself. But the pride that I feel now, going back over my life and all the experiences that I've had, that where somebody was trying to break me, somebody was trying to take something from me. And I said, no, you won't. We're going to fight over this. We're going to fight over me. And every last one of them suckers backed down. Every last one of them. Like I said, the guy that did, the police was scared of him. And I stood up to his ass. Because you wouldn't go. And this is my last story. A guy named Clay. He was sitting it was an apartment also in this building. He was sitting on them steps. And I was walking by, I had on my little Sizzler outfit. And what it was real short miniskirt. It had the little matching panties, right? So I'm walking, because I'm showing it off. I think I'm looking good. And so he said something vulgar to me. And I told him, fuck him or whatever I said, because I got a bad mouth and I still got one today. And this nigga says to me, all you need is a hard dick. And I turned around to him and I said, that may be true, but it won't be yours. And he snapped his head back. He didn't say nothing else to me. Didn't say nothing else to me. Stand up for yourself. Speak up. Be true. Be real. And find out who you are. And know that love is you. You know who you are. And know that love is the key to unlock the door to peace. When you love yourself and you stand up for yourself, there's a peace in that. Okay? So my time is almost up. And anybody who's watching this, I really appreciate y'all. I try to keep it, under an hour. I probably could go another hour because I can talk. But I pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. This is one of the best ones. And I feel really, really good. And I'm so proud of myself. And I love me so much for loving me. Love you, do you, be you, most of all. Speak up. Good night.